Okay. All right. Good afternoon. I know Tristan's on here, and I can see that at least one other person's on here, so I'm not sure who that is. But make sure you at least chime in once. That way I can write your name down and make sure you get credit for being here. We were just talking about the comic website for the assignment that we started last week. And we're going to get into that. A few people started. I know Tristan made his avatar. Narelle started on a comic. And Ethaniel actually finished a comic already. So I'll show you that as an example. I'm not going to show you Narelle's yet because it looks like he's still working on it. But I will show you Ethaniel's because it's a pretty good example of how to create a story using a comic format. So before we do that, I pulled up the 7th grade packet schedule. So if you're working on the packet, again, it's listed by weeks, and there are 7 weeks. If you don't finish every single week, I'm okay with that, as long as it looks like you're working. I did collect the packets from the school, the previous packets you guys turned in. They're downstairs on my coffee table, and I started grading them. I'll probably have them finished by Sunday, and I should have the grades in the grade book by Sunday as well. So I was waiting to enter grades until I got the packets all organized. So once those are graded, I'll start putting grades in. And I'll give you guys credit for the online stuff as well. So let's begin real quick. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go over the answers for some of week 2's packet. We're going to go over specifically the Monday through Friday language arts practice and the vocabulary. If you have questions on the other parts, I'll be happy to answer those questions as well. But these are the ones that we're going to go over the answers to. Hi, Katana. Welcome. I was just going over the schedule of what we're going to do today. We're going to go over answers to week 2 of the packet, and then we're going to review the comic activity. I know a few people are having questions on that. And Ethaniel actually finished his, so I'm going to show his as an example. I know a few people, I think you were included, who couldn't get onto the website, and that's fine. So if you want to do your comic handwritten, or if you want to just write like in paragraph form a superhero story, either of those are fine as well. So let's get started. So the first part of the maybe someday, I'm not sure what you're asking. Oh, about the blue hair thing. Yeah. Sorry, Tristan, I thought you were talking about the packet. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe I'll dye my my beard blue also. Okay, so when you go to week 2 of the packet, it should come up looking like this. It should have Monday through Friday, and it should say week 2. You can't see what I'm pointing at on my screen, so I don't know why I did that. But the first part of it just asks you to circle the proper nouns. This is fairly easy. The proper nouns are anything that begins with a capitalized word. Proper noun is like a name or a specific specific location. So like West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, all of those would be proper nouns. That's awesome that you have blue hair, Katana. Yeah, for your superhero, it can be like, it's pretty broad. You can just type in Google superhero powers, or if you want a character who's more realistic, like someone like like a Batman or a Jessica Jones, or I guess she has superpowers though. Maybe even like kind of like a character from that Stranger Things shows that you watch. I don't think anyone has superpowers on that. They're just fighting like space monsters or something. I should probably watch that show before I use that as an example. But you could do something along those lines as well, and like fighting like, organized crime or climate problems, or, really whatever. Just pick a problem that you don't like in the world, and then create a character who is going to fight that problem. So it can be any problem whatsoever that you don't like. Just look out into the world, pick something that you don't like, and create a character to oppose that. Okay, so getting back to number 1 though, the proper nouns are any, hey Nathaniel, proper nouns are any nouns to a specific person, place, or event. So for the first one, St. John's Glacier, St. John's Glacier, the Titanic, and the Bering Sea would be your proper nouns. Yes, you should. People have superpowers. Okay. Yeah. You could definitely go that ways about it. Hey, Nathaniel, while you're here, I was thinking about using your comic as an example. It was really well done, so if you don't mind, towards the end of this session, I was going to pull that up and let people see that as an example, just because it was so well done, and you kind of had like the perfect length, and you had an internal and an external conflict, which I thought was kind of cool. So if you're okay with that, I'll show that to everyone who's here as an example. So just type in if you think that's okay. If you're embarrassed by it, I won't use yours as an example. That's fine too. Anyways, the second question for the language arts packet is put commas where they need to be. The cheat for commas is anytime you pause when you speak, you need some sort of punctuation. So a lot of times, if it's a complete sentence and you want to know where the commas go, all you really have to do. All right, thanks, Nathaniel. All you really have to do is wait till you pause. So when I read the sentence, see if you can tell where I'm pausing. For most icebergs, such as the one that was hit by the Titanic, 9/10 of the mass is below the surface of the water. It's a lot of S's. But so I paused right before such, and I paused right after Titanic. The actual rule here would be you're putting commas around some information that's extra. That sentence would make sense without such as the one that was hit by the Titanic. If you take that part out and read the sentence, it still makes sense. It's not as complex, but it still makes sense. Most icebergs, for most icebergs, 9/10 of the mass is below the surface of the water. That's still a sentence. So the such as the one that was hit by the Titanic's extra information. So you need commas around that. So you put a comma before such and after Titanic. You can try to memorize the rules, or you can just use the cheat of when you pause, there needs to be something there. Either one's fine. Number 3 is kind of tricky. Which words are not compounds? Going through this the first time I actually made a mistake. Compound words are just two words put together. And the ones that aren't compounds are icicle, defrost, submerge, and actually sinkable. This is the one I missed, was sinkable, because sink's a word and able's a word. But in this context, they're using a different usage. It's not actually able that they're talking about, like he's able to do something. It's, if you even say the word out loud, sinkable, like it's not sinkable, it's sinkable. So sinkable is actually not a compound either. So it's sinkable, submerge, icicle, and defrost. I know for number 5, I put he doesn't care how dangerous. Oh, awesome. That's a good answer. I will definitely take that. I was thinking, I think on mine I put he wants people to appreciate glaciers, but that definitely, I'll definitely take that, Katana. That's a good answer for number 5. We'll just jump ahead to number 5. Number 5 just wants to know the attitude of the author. I put down that he wanted people to appreciate icebergs. In the actual book, because I printed off the answers, they gave a couple examples. They put that he wants visitors to have fun, but even the book kind of acknowledged that more than one answer was possible. So I would definitely take Katana's answer that he doesn't seem to care how dangerous it is. So, good answer. Number 4, just to go over real quick, from this passage you can tell how icebergs are formed. The icebergs, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't actually tell you in the passage there how they're made. It gives you details about it. So your answer for number 4 would just be no. So that's relatively a short one. Now I'm not going to go through every single day of the week. What I am going to do is I made a Google document that looks like, oh, that's not it, looks like this. It should be on your screen. It just says week 2, and then it has all the answers. For a lot of them, I put your answers can vary because there's more than one answer that I would accept there. So like Katana's answer for number 5, I would definitely take. And you could just go through Monday through Friday. There was a writing portion for Friday. You don't have to do the writing portion, just do the reading portion. And then there's also the vocab, which I'll go over real quick, and I put those answers down as well. And this comes off of the vocab to the Wounded Wolf story. It's the second story in the packet. It's kind of like fiction, but it's kind of like realistic fiction, where they give the wolves kind of the ability to like almost talk through their barks. Like, this bark means I'm here, this bark means I'm in trouble, stuff like that. So it's fictional, but it's kind of written in a way to make it more realistic. So they use personification, giving the wolves human-like qualities. It's a kind of a cute story, so that's why I picked it. Okay, Katana, I didn't notice your email yet, so I will get back to you on that as soon as we're done with this. That'll be the first thing I do at 1 o'clock. And then I'll email back with whatever your question was. Good afternoon, Nick. All right, so the vocab, what you have to do for the vocab section, again, they give you the definitions. All you have to do is read these sentences and put the definition in the correct blank. This is something we typically would do for homework in class. And I do think vocab development's really important, so make sure you do this. And the answers will show up on that Google Doc, which I will attach to the Google Classrooms real quick. Like, we are talking, Nick, about your week 2 packet schedule. I am going over the answers to the Monday through Friday language arts practice and the vocab. Just to save time, I am going to attach this Google Doc to the Google Classrooms, and you have the answers to the Monday through Friday language arts practice and the vocab. So just kind of going over that in brief. So if you see, the page 2 part was a little bit trickier to put into answer form. The second page is where you have to underline things. They ask you questions like underline the words that tell what the pup sees. So you just go to what it's squinting its eyes at, and then you find out what it's squinting at, right? Underlines word tell what the... Yeah, so you just underline what it's squinting at. It's squinting its eyes, right? So you just circle or underline its eyes. So any of that, that should be pretty simple to go through on your own, and the answers are right there. So I do want to get back to the comic. I was trying to speed through the going over the packet assignments just so I had time to get through the comic assignment, because we didn't have a ton of time last class to go over it. Just the half-hour increments are kind of short. So if you go to Google Classrooms, there were a bunch of links that are all connected to the comic, right? So if you go to the superhero article, that's an example of writing it in story form. If you go to the story option, all that is a Word document where you can type it in paragraph form. If you click the Create a Comic link, that's the one that takes you to the actual Pixton site, and that's where you use your login information to actually create a comic book. Hey, what's going on, Hunter? If you need directions on how to do it, the Design a Superhero slideshow will bring up the directions. And the student login has your password to get in. And it's pretty easy to determine which password's yours because it has your first name. So it'll say like Katana and then a number, or Ethaniel and then a number. So you just type that one in. Once you get to the site, it should have like your face, and you can just click on whichever one is you and then make your comic. Ethaniel said we could use his as an example, so I'm just going to pull his up. Ethaniel actually made a really cool comic. His is kind of long. I think it's like 9 slides. And he explains what his power is. He can turn invisible and teleport. He explains what his external conflict is. His uncle's robbing a bank. He also uses that as an internal conflict because the person who is committing the crime is also a relative, so presumably someone he cares about. So it gives him that interesting internal and external conflict being combined. His story is pretty well written. He explains to the uncle he knows what's going on. He asks him to stop. When he refuses, he uses his powers to turn invisible and teleport his uncle to a jail and force him to confess to the crime. So when it's over, he's able to, you know, put everything back the way it should go. So how do we do this? Okay, so how you do this, right? So that's an example of a finished product. To actually do it, you just go into the Pixton site, and the link right here on Google Classrooms under the Create a Comic Book, you click that, it will bring up these 3 links. The student join page is what you want to click, and your student login is in this link. Each one should be relatively easy to figure out because it will be your first name with a number after it. So, for instance, Nick, yours would be Nick 1490. So when you click on the link to student join page, you just type in Nick 1490, and then you will get to a website that looks like this, right? And then it will have you design your avatar, like Tristan made a blue-haired person. I think I made Norel's as an example last time, so I don't think he actually did that. And Nathaniel actually made an avatar that kind of looks like him. Like, I would probably be able to pick that out. And then I made one for myself as an example as well. Once you start your comic book, you get a little panel, and you can add more slides to it. You can also type in the dialogue. You can put in different people and change the background. A lot of the stuff is blacked out because you have to pay for like additional options, but there's enough there that you guys can create a comic book. I didn't give an assigned length. I figure at least probably 6 slides, but if you want to do more, that's great. If you can manage to get everything done with less, that's fine too. I know Nathaniel's was 9, and that seemed to be like the perfect length for his, but if you want to do 6 or 4, I'd be okay with that as well. Just give it internal and an external conflict. And remember, an internal conflict would be an example like how Nathaniel had the criminal also being the main character's uncle. So it was an internal conflict for him to turn in his own relative. And then in his external conflict is a problem, something that you can deal with. Like in Nathaniel's case, it was the bank robbery. Nick, yours is 1490. Here, I'll just type it in for you. There you go. Yeah, and if you don't want to do it in comic form, you can also do it in short story form. So when you go on to the Google Classrooms, all right, give me 1 second, Hunter. I'm pretty sure your first name's it's going to be Hunter something. Hunter 1212. All right, that one's pretty easy. Hunter 1212. All right. So if you don't want to do it in comic book form, just for people who don't want to do that, the example for how to write a short story version of a comic would be if I were a superhero, the superhero article. This is just an example. There aren't any questions to it, so you can read it if you would like to see an example. And then you click the superhero short story option, and that will just bring up a blank Google document that you can type in, and then you write it in. Then you just write it in there. Yeah, neither could. Okay, yeah, Nick, I remember last time that you had said that you couldn't get into it, and Katana, I remember you said that as well. So if you want, what you can do is, if you have access to a printer, you could print out one of the storyboards that I use in class sometimes, the ones with the 6 slides that have you guys, copy down main details from story in. Or you could just make something like that with some paper, ruler, and some pencils. Just, make 6 slides and create your own comic that way. Or you could always handwrite it, and whenever you turn in your packets, the 7-week packet that I gave you guys, when you have that turned into the school, you can just include this in there. That way I make sure to give you credit. Either one would be fine. Yeah, so, or you could just use plain paper, even. Just handwrite it out. Okay. Yeah, if you don't have a printer, you could just handwrite it. Just get like a blank sheet of paper, fold it. Not very artistic, but, fold it, and then fold it again, right? That would give you 8, I think. Yeah, it would give you 8. And then you can just, draw in there. You've seen my artwork, which is pretty subpar. So if you, it's more like the ability to organize a story in comic form with an internal and external conflict. If you have, if your artwork's just stick people or something like that, that's fine. Or even like circles and squares, or however you want to do that. Yeah, I'm not very great at the whole folding paper thing. That's more of an elementary school teacher skill. So I didn't get any special training in that. I seriously doubt very many of you will end up doing the paragraph form, just because, I know if I was picking between making a comic or writing a story in paragraph form, I would probably go for the simpler of the two, and I would think the comic is the simpler of the two. But if you want, you're more than welcome to do the paragraph form. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns on how that site works? We can walk through it. Nathaniel's here, and he actually did a really good job, so we can even pull in some of his expertise, if you like. I did notice that I can give you guys comments to the side. So I think I gave a comment to Tristan, and I think I made a comment on Norel's. So if you have questions, like between now and the next class, you can always type them in there and I can get back to you. Email is probably faster because I'll notice it on my phone, but I actually do check your guys' work over fairly often. Oh, I just saw Katana made a character. Way to be, Katana. Nice. So that's cool. You can absolutely go to the bathroom. Nick, you didn't have to ask. I would have no way of knowing. So since we have a little bit of time left, it was quicker going over the comic thing than I was expecting. I do want to go over the vocab real quick, since we have some time. I made a Kahoot for this, so I will pull that up. And we can do a Kahoot over the vocab. Oh, you don't have any passes left? That's rough, Nick. I'll go ahead and give you a bonus pass for today. All right. So since everybody's on a computer of some sort, you guys can log into Kahoot, and as soon as my computer stops acting goofy, I will load it up. All right, cool. So this is the vocab from the week 2 of the story. It actually is all the vocab for the assignments for week 2, the vocab assignments. So I'll type the password in as well, so you can just copy and paste it if you want. And so there's a couple of you guys are in here. If you play a Kahoot just like class, it'll be awesome. Jolly Rancher. Just have to take an IOU and give it to you next time you see it. And if for some reason your device won't let you be on YouTube and you can just, heck yeah, we're doing this right now. Our family reunions are a lot of fun. I enjoy meeting a lot of members of my family. If you aren't able to log in, just type in your answer in the YouTube chat. So just type your answer. You can red, yellow. But you have to beat Nathaniel. Alright. So yeah, clan's a large group of people. I could see why you'd pick a group of loud people. Okay, so for this one, hey, Nico's in. All right, for this one, if you're not logged in to Kahoot, just type the answer. Just type the color. The exhausted dog gulped down all the water. I didn't think about the delay. Alright, tell you what, we'll just scrap that idea. Instead, I can assign this to you guys. Here, let me just get out of that for a second. Okay, so I didn't realize that was going to be, the delay was going to cause such an issue. I can assign that to you so you can play it. Yeah, I turned it off because it looked like the interface was kind of being kind of buggy. What I'll do instead is I'll create a link in Google Classrooms. I can assign that as something you can just do whenever. And then, so you can just go through, and I won't really care how many you get right or wrong. I'll just kind of grade it as if you did it or not. So that'll show up in Google Classrooms here in a minute. As soon as we're done with our time, I'll just put a assignment in there. I noticed that Katana was having issues hearing me, and you mentioned the delay was making it hard. So I'll just create it in Google Classrooms. There'll be a link, and you can just go into it that way. I also made the answers to the packet readable on there, so I forgot to assign it, so I'll do that real quick. Oh, the Kahoot was loud. Gotcha. I noticed that you said you couldn't hear me. I wasn't sure what the issue was, though. But okay, yeah, so now I know Kahoot while we're going isn't the best idea, so that's fine. I just was trying to try something new, so that's fine. Next time we won't do that. The answers are currently on the Google Classrooms, and as soon as I log off, I'll put on the Kahoot as well. And it can just be like, if you did it, you get credit. It won't be something where I'm grading how many right or wrong answers you guys had. So, does anyone have any questions before class lets up? I think I have like 30 seconds or so left, so any questions I can help you guys with? Before you guys go, I do want to just again say, Ethaniel, I was really impressed with yours. Norel, I don't think you're on here, but your comic's coming along really well as well, so I thought that was pretty good. Anybody else, if you have any questions, feel free to email. I know, Katana, you said you sent an email, so I will check that as soon as I'm done with YouTube Live. I know you guys have social studies next, so have fun with Mr. Andrews, and I'll talk to you guys next week.